I suppose if I click this link up here.
This is Our Paranormal Podcast because this is our paranormal community, and we want to support you here on RU Media Network. We are proud to be sponsored by the Haunted Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. Here are your hosts, Bryan, Mersol, and Shawn Gilmore.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Our Paranormal Podcast on RU Media Network. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everybody.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
And once again, we have our wonderful guest, Robbie Thomas. The last time I was so impressed when he came on that I literally went on to Amazon and I purchased his book. And I read the book, and I just found out that there's another version of the book that's better than the version that I got. So now I'm like, what the heck, man? Because I was like, there's one problem with the book, Robbie. As soon as he got on, and I went like this, and I showed him the inside, and there's no signature. I'm like, I need your signature, man. And he's like, oh, you got the wrong book, man.
I should. Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, I'm missing some cases, but I think that I got a good book here nonetheless. It was a great read, and I read it quick. It's an easy read. It's not, and the stories are amazing. They really are. Bryan, you gotta get this book, but get it from Robbie. Don't get
Yeah. Listen, I'm not getting that.
get the good one. I mean, either way helps Robbie out, but you said you get extra 50 pages, right?
Yep.
So that's a whole other case or two.
Yeah, it begins with where it all started. My very first case, 1990. So it takes you for the whole 30 years. It's all documented, what took place. It's a very high-profile case in my hometown. And it's funny because just last week, as you've seen on Facebook, I've been loading it up with all the book signings and sending them out to people. I went to the police station and gave the book out to one of the people who were head of the police association there. So, I mean, they know I've done these cases, and it's amazing. After 30 years, my whole life is in your hands. You've read it, minus that case and a few other things. But I could have picked from hundreds of cases, and I just picked out some of the ones that were very reflective to me, and very meaning from children. I based it on this. I based it on 4 equalities in what a psychic profiler should be able to do: find missing people, find children that are in the sex slave trade, get them out, solve a murder case, and I can't think of the other one, but it's in there. But it's being able to do that with law enforcement and them back you up with their testimonies. And then I went even further. I sat on this for the longest time too, guys. I thought, okay, there's a lot of people out there who will question this. If you just write the story and write what you did, okay, it's fine. You have a testimonial from a police officer and the family in there per case and all the way through. People want to see the nitty gritty. So I brought in the text messages. I brought in the emails. I brought in the photographs. I brought in documentation not privy to the public ever. And they got a chance to see it all. And it's all factual. So you can call it case closed if you wish, from front to back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and these cases, they're not easy cases either.
No, you're right.
I couldn't imagine honestly going and working one of these cases, even the ones with happy endings, it would just be so hard. Just the whole process. That first initial phone call is like gut wrenching. No matter what, it's not good. You're trying to find somebody that's missing that people care about. So that's just so hard. It's got to be very taxing on your spirit.
It is. I relive these cases over and over, and I've done it for years. And my wife will tell you, and she'll say like, "Hey, Rob, you just got to let it go," and you just can't let it go because you've seen what I've written in that book, and that came from my soul, what I was there and what I seen, and I've seen everybody acting on death scenes and what went through, and then finding and giving the murderer's name so they can go arrest the guy, finding the murder weapon, finding the bodies, and then you relive this, and it's daily. And then on top of that, like you just mentioned, the phone rings, and then it's another beautiful mother on the end of the line, or a father, or a husband, or a wife, and they're saying, "I need help in the most worst way," and that's what I fear. And when I get that, I mean, you get embroiled into somebody's life, and then you become part of their family, and it transcends everything that you are as a human being to becoming very humble, very loving for those family members, and it tears you apart because you're part of them now. And that's how I wanted to instill that in that book, to show that it's just not a game. This is really happening, and law enforcement do call me, and they call me regularly.
So you still get these calls? Do you still work cases like this?
Absolutely. Just before the pandemic was Alabama, Mississippi, the Bible Belt, and one inspector who was handed over the entire Alabama investigative team. When I was on the phone looking at photographs, like I'm looking at you on the screen here, I just had a photograph, and we went through a bunch of stuff. I faxed it down because you can see all my stuff's really close to me. It's quick for me to turn around, fax things out, get it down. Yeah. And he goes, "There's no way you could have known that area. I grew up in that area." And he goes, "I want you to do all Alabama's cases." And this is what he was telling me before the pandemic. Unfortunately, we're sitting at a crossroads where the borders are closed. I can't access to get down there to anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world where people want me to go and help. I've had cries from Australia, England, all over. It's very difficult, very, very difficult. I don't know what to say about it because it really bothers me, because we should be able to go and do these things. And they call it essential workers. But if, unfortunately, you're not really an essential worker, even though law enforcement and government want you to come and help.
Well, yeah, I guess I never really thought of it that way in terms of finding like who's quote unquote essential and who actually gets left out of that.
True.
Wow.
I didn't think of that either. I would think that if you're working hand on hand with detectives, then that would include you in with what they do.
Yeah,
you would think so. Unfortunately, it's not that way.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
you should have like a badge. Like you need to have like the international like badge for international detective badge,
right?
Like Austin Powers, but cooler. Because who's the international spy? Sorry.
Yeah, no. And you know what? You've hit on it.
Like with what you do though, like it's insane. I mean, the credentials and with every story, guys, like he said, he includes a letter from the people that he helped, not only the families but the detectives, and there's one in here where it legit has the entire case information on it, and it lists. The case is towards the end of the book. Where was it? It lists legit, like I'm not going to read it, but it was for this poor young lady Here, the Page Birchfield murder case. Here, it starts out with the police reports from the detective that he worked with, and it's pages of it.
Wow.
And so you get to read the police report from the detective, and then you get to read Robbie's side of the story. I'm going to be honest with you. For this one, I decided to read your side, and then I went back and read the detective side. And it's I just kind of decided that because the one before that, I read it, and it's just like, I don't know. I just want to I wanted to know your side first. So I did that first with that one. And that's why I thought it was so cool, though, because, I mean, to see both sides, and you get to see that really how much Robbie helps and how much they depend on his help with these cases. I mean, they would have never found her. Ever.
No, it was a tough case. And in that case, too, I mentioned the man's name.
Yeah.
You know, again, I either go on scene or I'm here in Canada. In that case there, I was here in Canada. And I was feeding information over the phone, over the computer, as fast as it would be viable to get to them. And it was amazing because he got tipped off. He just felt that things were wrong. And he ended up following the detectives in their car until they lost them. Yeah. And it was amazing how the chase took, and they're going, he's right behind us. And I'm on the phone listening to this. It was amazing. Wow. Yeah.
That's insane. They went undercover based on the information you gave them.
That's true.
They put that's how much they trust you. They put themselves at risk, and it worked. It helped a lot. And they ended up not only finding her body, but they also ended up getting him prosecuted and in prison where he belongs. Right,
absolutely.
I mean, where it's very sad what happened to her. It's amazing how you were able to make sure that piece of shit ended up exactly where he belongs. Some might even argue that he doesn't even belong there. But I personally think, in my opinion, that jail's worse than death. But that's coming from someone who's never been to prison. Right. But I think that spending your life behind bars would be a lot worse than dying. But
yeah, you would think so.
That's what I think. You eat crappy food. You have to worry about your safety, worry about who's going to jump you or rape you. I mean, that's worse than death. Death is the easy way out, if you ask me. But that's why I don't mind my tax dollars going to them. I'm not against the death penalty. I just think that it's the easy way out. Yeah. But that's just me. I'm not afraid of death either. So my opinion might be different than others just based on that. But with this case, I mean, how did this detective know to contact you?
There's a lot of retired and active law enforcement officers in the paranormal. Mm-hmm. Through that venue and doing radio show that this individual had, you know, I've worked with a lot, like International Police Chief Kevin Smith. He had his own TV/radio show type thing. This is how we got to know each other on this sergeant detective on this case, and called me one day and we started talking about this case. We went down that road of, you know, describe this, describe that. So I brought out the paper and the pen and I started marking down different road things I've seen, the horses, the ranch, the quarter horse ranch, the roadway. And we went up to one part where they found a blouse at one time that they figured belonged to her. And where the individual went, they followed him afterwards. When that chase I told you about, he went up to an area and he got out of his car. You can see his footprints and they come to a stop. So they figured that he placed her one place and took her and moved her to another place, which a lot of times murderers do that. Yeah. Like in the Kaylee Anthony case, I did that case exactly as well. That's not in the book, but I did that one. And there's an actual audio feed on my website. People can hear of all the information they gave before they found her and before they arrested the mother. It's all there, and it all was all factual where they found the baby. So that's how we got into that case. And then they started doing their detective work. And sure enough, Lester Jones is the individual's name. I mentioned his name. Got arrested. It was a double homicide. The lady, Paige Bergfeld, was pregnant with a child. So the judge charged him, and they found him guilty of double homicide. First time it set precedence that the baby in the womb was considered human.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow, that's insane. Like, and first of all, there's a story in here about how you got started in this. I kind of want to touch base on this a little bit. He tricked his local police department. He goes in and he takes the test and he passes it with flying colors, except for one thing. He's 17 years old. He's not old enough to be a police officer.
Right.
The path that you took and how you ended up being here. So, can you kind of elaborate on that story just a little bit more, just so that people know? I mean, just how crazy this is. He just a quick. I mean, he passed the test. He wanted to be a police officer, and he passed the test at 17 years old. A test that adults struggle to pass. And then he passes, and then he goes, and then he decides, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that, because that's just
all right. Here's this egotistical 17-year-old who's proud as a peacock because he's going against guys who he thinks that are old and can't do nothing and can't run. And, you got to put the physical on. You got to do the 1.5 mile run, all the physical testing and psychological and, you name it in the interviews. And I went through the final brass and then got into the chief's office. So I'm sitting adjacent from 2 other auxiliaries, and they were taking 3 auxiliaries that day. And I hear this big burly fella coming up the hallway, and he comes into his office, and it's Chief Cook. And Chief Cook sits down, and he congratulates those 2 fellas over there, and I'm just waiting for my congratulations because all I got going through my mind is, hey, I'm a cop now. That's all I cared about at 17. Awesome. And I didn't get it. So what I got was he lifts his paper up and he goes, son, and he's giddy. He's really giddy and laughing. And he goes, how old are you? And I said, I'm 17, Chief. And I'm like a proud peacock, right? And he's laughing, and the other guys are looking at me, and I'm wondering what's going on. Why? Did I do something wrong? And sure enough, he says, you have to be 20 to be an auxiliary. So can you come back? And he goes, he gave me the good John Doe letter type spiel, feel good about yourself type speech. And sure enough, I kept doing police testing. And then finally, when I was 20, I got hired on a little town outside of Toronto, Canada. And in doing so, this is my second go around of becoming a police officer. One, I got fired. Same day I got hired. And this one, I got hired, but I quit because I come home from the testing. I'm sitting in my kitchen, and I hear accident. So I go up my sliding balcony door out the back, and I hop the fence. And I look over, and there's this lady running around in her robe, and she's screaming, accident. She points down the laneway, so I hop over the fence, and I'm running as fast as I can to the direction she's saying this accident is. So I'm thinking car accident because the laneway rounds out like this to the road, the main road. And as I get out there, there's nothing. And then I hear a guy over here. So I turn and I look, and I go over to his townhouse, and I go to the threshold of the door, and he pulls me in, and I'm looking around. There's a lady going around the kitchen table to my left screaming, and there's a gentleman to my right holding a doorknob. And he says, come here. So I go over to him, and it's like all this pressure. It felt weird. It was like Twilight Zone. And then this man looks at me straight in my eyes, opens the door, pushes me in, and shuts the door. So now I'm still thinking accident, and I look down on the floor, and I'm looking for blood, some type of thing. And I look up, and there's a man in the bathroom, and he's got his eyes peered right on me, but he's not there. He's dead. So I go over, and I'm starting to do vitals, because when you're a first responder, first thing you do is vitals, and you check and see if they're breathing and stuff. And I notice a bluish tinge to his lips. So I go to do CPR, and I hear, let me go. And I stop for a moment. No, but I can hear all the time, but I'm not in that mode. I'm in the mode of trying to save a life. And I'm going back to do CPR, and it got really loud, let me go. So then I stop, and I go, oh, I realize now this gentleman here he's gone. There's no way I'm going to save him. Come the next 2 days after the coroner did their autopsy, and we're just about to go to the funeral coming up. I think it was like a week, something like that. It came back, he had a massive coronary. It was a tear in the heart. And there was no way I would have been able to save him anyways, even if he was savable. So ended up going to the funeral and finding out it was my sister's best friend's father. So it was uncanny. So it just kind of hit me. It was just like all this pressure and everything. So I call up the police force, and I said, I'd like to thank you for hiring me, but I quit. And you just don't quit when you get hired, because they've just spent all that time on you, all that revenue, whatever it cost to get you to that point of becoming a police officer, to go to send you to college, police college. So I had to have a trade-off. The trade-off was this. They were going to send a film crew to my home from the Chatham police force. Would have been a captain, a sergeant, and a film crew. And it was a movie. My first one I'm in, I was 21 years of age. It's about EMTs, firefighters, and police officers who quit under duress. I wasn't stressed, but I agreed to doing it. So I did it. They came in, set up. They asked these various questions, and then they got to the one, son, why did you quit? And I started to explain. He spoke to me. And as I'm explaining this on film, I'm looking at their faces, and their jaws are literally hanging on the floor, thinking either I'm a nutcase, right? Or, what's going on here? But, yeah, so that's my venture of being a police officer, not being a police officer, not being a police officer type thing. So that's where it all began for me.
But I mean, that's to me, that's a powerful thing, though. To go and through that, you had this lifelong dream to the point where you go and you pushed yourself beyond your limits and you passed this test. And then once you finally got there, you realized you had a much deeper calling. Even though what you're doing is still within the same kind of realm, right? It's still, it took you on a different course than what you could ever expect. That to me is amazing. And you listen to that. Yeah. That's even cooler to me. That's even more amazing to me.
And then what's missing out of your book is my first case, 1990, shortly after this.
Now, I want to hear about this first case, but first we have.
Do I dare tell you, or are you going to want to read that?
Can we do both?
Okay.
Here, well, hold on. First, Donnie Abbott asks, "Hey, Robbie, do you do remote viewing?" Now, I read the book, so I already know. Yeah. But I actually pulled a little something off your website. But can you go ahead and help explain to Donna?
Okay. Yeah, Donna. There's various things I do. And, going back, let's go back to it's double fold this answer for you. So it gives you time to pull stuff up. In the early 1990s, mid 1990s, before there was any of this social media around, I had Robbie Thomas forums. And I used to teach people from around the world who used to come there from all over the world. I had like 10,000 people belong to it. And a lot of those folks still follow me today on social media. And one of the cases that are in the book, actually a lady got her child out of the sex slave trade. She is one who's followed me since the early 2000s, late 1990s. Now, I used to teach this about remote viewing, about censoring, about seeing, hearing, and developing the true ability. Now, people put different titles on it, different aspects and spins on it. And over the years, I've come from a child right till now and harvesting everything and then putting it into a book form, many books, I got 10 books, and instilling the proper way of what this truly is. It's called ability. It's called spirit. Plain and simple. Ability versus intuition. Everybody has intuition. It's like mom's intuition, police intuition, and then there's true ability. Now, how do you get the true ability? I always tell that God, spirit, chooses me at this moment, but then it could be Bryan. Bryan, you're going to be the next one for the next 10 years, 20 years, and I'm done because I don't have it anymore. And that's what I've always looked at it in that aspect. So remote viewing, yes. Sitting here and describing the murderer's name, where the body was, and the repeat offender of 2 young boys, and all that diagram and everything is not only on my website, but it's in the book. And I said Cecil was his name that murdered.
Boom.
There you go. Murdered little Cannell, little Caesar. And I got that call that day, and I had to transpire all this information in order for them to know exactly who this was. As soon as this got to the news stations in Louisville, Kentucky, NBC, ABC, and to the detective, they all went out. They all knew who it was. And there he is. He's in jail since 2007.
Now, real quick, because you do remote viewing, and you can see there's some of the sketches that you do, and you talk about these sketches a lot in the book.
Yeah.
And honestly, these sketches and everything is one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite stories in the book, because you get to actually see the workings of how your images go and help with the case. So, can you just kind of like what do those circles mean, and how did those little sketches there? What exactly did those mean?
Yeah. The night before little Caesar went vanished that next morning, I put stadium lights off. And that was the only night they turned them off, the night before. So I'm getting from my spirit guides, right, what direction I'm to go. As I'm putting this down, I write down John. And you can see it says John. If you stood on the murderer's front porch and you look through the clearing, and there's the diagram down there, Papa John Stadium was right there. You can see Papa John Stadium right there. So I'm getting direction of where this boy is located. When I say orange men in vests and flags, the little boy was playing in front of the murderer's home, and they were doing construction only in front of his home in a sewer. And there was flags in the ground for like gas line, electrical line, and the boy was there playing with that. And of course, the men working had orange vests. And when he seen the boy in the front yard, he called him into his home. So now we have this piece of puzzle coming together. And when I say repeat offender, 2 young boys, I write that down. And I say dogs, and I'm writing down dogs. Well, they went down with cadaver dogs into his house, and they found where he put the boy, and the dogs smelt that area. And then when I say repeat offender of 2 boys, he was a repeat sexual offender of 2 boys. So now they got the MO of this individual. They have the area in which they could look that's very viable to them and gives them pristine information. This is accurate information for them in order to make a warrant, to make something that they can go on, plausible. There's a break. I can't see, hear anything, and I'm fucking mad. What story language? And I'm really, really irate. So I'm doing my thing. I'm angry. I'm swearing. I'm cussing. That's what I do. Doesn't matter. And sure enough, I come back in. Must be about 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I'm back in. But now it felt different to me because it wasn't that void anymore of nothingness, and it wasn't that spirit guide guiding me. I was actually being right there with the little boy, and I thought, oh, fuck, he's dead. And then I got real mad, and I started, and in the book you can hear me what I was saying, just give me his effing name. And sure enough, he did. He says Cecil. So I put Cecil, and I'm picturing this from a 4-year-old little boy's mindset, and I'm drawing this guy's head, and it's flashes, and I'm drawing, and I'm getting Cecil, and I'm putting all this other information as fast as I can because it's really fast. And sure enough, once I'm done, that was it. And I shipped it off. They got it and knocked on his door. He put, when I said white truck, I think it says white vehicle, dark inside. When Louisville at the time had white garbage trucks, and his body's in the back of the garbage. So that's where they found him, and he put his body in the garbage. And, well, we got the scumbag. He's right there. And he's never going to see the day of light ever again.
Another POS where he belongs. Yep. And I want to give you, let you know, you can say whatever you want here. We don't, what's the word?
Censor.
Yes. We have no censorship here.
Okay.
So, yeah, don't worry about that. Here, real quick. Actually, I feel bad. I got really bad at comments today. I'm sorry. We just jumped it right in. And I want to say hi to everybody. Darren Smith, thank you, brother, for tuning in. I know you're still here. Teresa, you have a question. I'm on. You're next. And Holly Miner, hello. And a friend that where'd he go? I swear there is a comment from Melvin Seaborn. I haven't seen you on here in a while, brother. Where you been? I'm waiting for some questions. You have the best questions ever. Actually, I have some competition for you. Bryan. He asked good questions too. So, all right. So, going on, Teresa Sawinski, she wants to know, and this is going to go right into your first case, I think. Before all this happened, did you have any experiences when you were younger?
Oh, yeah.
Before
yeah. Do you want to go back to childhood?
Yeah, I want to know, because to me, I didn't know what an empath was until I was 30.
Right.
So, I mean, and that made me understand so many of the experiences I had in my life prior. So, before you had that aha moment, it seems like you had that younger than you must have been in your 20s. Yeah, did you have any experiences where after you realized what it was, you're like, oh, that's what that was? And made sense of things?
I grew up age 2 where Fox did a special, and it was a reunification of me and my sister. Back in the early 60s, if a mother had a baby out of wedlock, the Catholic Church would step in and take that baby, especially now that, and I explained this to you, I just found out I'm Métis. So the Catholic Church stepping in, taking indigenous children away from their parents and putting them in orphanages, giving them up for adoption. So you had me at 2 years of age telling my mother, because what happened was a man met her, promised her the world, never followed through with it. She got pregnant, and then they didn't get married. So they took the baby away from my mother. Baby gets adopted. Years later, she meets my father, marries him, then has me. So you got this snot-nosed kid running around at 2 years of age, 3 years of age going, I know there's something out there, a part of me. Am I adopted? And I'm saying this to my mother, and it must have broke her heart. It must have broke her heart because I kept hammering it to her right up until I was 15. I just know there's something out there. Well, my mother passed in 1994, never said anything. The family pulled me aside, and my uncle, her brother, hired a lawyer, did all the digging and the hard work, and they found Mary. And they pulled me into the park, and they said, your mother left you a present. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, she's been looking for you, and I went and found her for you. And I was still baffled, and I started clicking. And he goes, we found that girl that you said that your mother had all your whole life. I went, oh. So I got to meet her. And so, yeah, it started very young. Went on Fox. They did a Reunification special. The lady, my sister, was a spit-in image of my mother. Crazy as it is. And then, even going into adolescent times where my father bought a house and I was 12, 13 years of age, and a man died in that house, and we remodeled it because it was a fire. So we remodeled it that whole summer. And as I go to bed around August, nice hot summer night, moon shining, I click off the light, climb into bed, and I look, and there's a guy standing there. We call them shadow people. They're actually spiritual people on the other side. They're us. And he was moving forward. I want to get into that part where they don't harm you either. They don't harm you. And he's moving forward. Freaked me out. I scream. My mother comes in, flicks the light on. He's not there anymore, obviously. I made out the brim hat, his overalls, his hands. He got very close to me. And then over time, I started to explain to my mother what this man looked like and whatever. She goes, maybe he'll come back, and maybe you'll learn from him. And my mom was very spiritual. And I said, okay. And indeed, he did. He came back with messages of the 3 other gentlemen across the road who were adjacent from where he lived were all best friends with him. There was Mr. Leach, Mr. Waters, and Mr. Harding. They were all going to die. And that's the message I got. So I'm explaining to my mother what's going on and my father. And, I'm told as a 12, 13-year-old to be quiet, don't say anything. So I remember sitting on the front porch and my father being there. And Mr. Leach would always come over and chew the rag with my dad. And sure enough, he's coming across the road, and he was a very stout man. And he's holding his pants. He's floating in his pants. So he lost a lot of weight, and that's cancer. And I'm looking at this man come sit down, and I'm just staring at him because I already know what's going to happen. And sure enough, Mr. Leach dies. And his son was my good friend. And then Mr. Waters had a heart attack, and Mr. Harding died in a hunting accident. It was all that summer. They all died. It was amazing. So getting in touch with reality, I call it. It's not, are you having experiences? This is reality. I become so open to this. And I wrote my first book 2002, published 2003, end of 2003, and it came out. And I explained in that book about how my peer section, if they knew what I was like, they would crush me. They'd literally, because back then it wasn't accepted. And anymore, I get calls from I got friends who are in school with me now are on my social media. And, it's come full circle. My whole life has been this. It's been 30 years doing law enforcement work in crimes. And even before that. My very first paranormal investigation was 1978. Got photographs of that. And I brought everybody from, True TV. We had Haunting Evidence. I had Spook TV, Ghost Hunters International, all your shows that we all watch and grew up with, knew, and what have you. And these guys all started after I did. But I brought them down. I did a paranormal convention 3 years in a row. And I brought them to my first haunt. And I tell you, they were blown away. It was great. It was really great. So it's a living. It's a living because we live it. It's experience. It's reality. And that's how we should really term this.
You know what? Based on my experiences, I agree for sure. Definitely. So I'll never forget my big moment. But Bryan,
no, go tell your big moment.
I've told it 100 times already.
Yeah, no. That way we can compare and contrast that aha moment or the moment where you're saying, "Oh, well, these people don't have the same abilities that I do," and
Well, my big aha moment was when I was shown. Another psychic had me do a 1-card reading at a convention. It was like a public hunt where we did. She ended up. It was a small group of us, so she ended up having us do a 1-card reading, and I was doing a reading on the person across from me, and she had a lot of health problems, and I totally tapped into it, and I got totally sucked into it. She had to talk me out of it and bring me back, if you will, and that just made so many things make sense. When I was a young kid, I went to overnight camp. I was brought up Jewish. I went to a Jewish overnight camp, and so the 4th of July was on a Friday, which I don't know if everybody knows, but Friday is the Sabbath. You do nothing. You're not. So because it was on the Sabbath, we were not allowed to go see fireworks. And the counselors came up with the idea to have us do like a meditation thing, like a relaxation meditation thing. And so as we were doing this, I got this feeling something was wrong at home. I wasn't homesick. I mean, I was in the 5th or 6th grade. I wasn't homesick, but I knew something was wrong at home. Something was not right at home. And I went to a counselor and I said, I need to call home. Something's not right. I need to call home. And they're like, oh no, you're just homesick. You're fine. We have a strict policy. You're not allowed to call home to make your homesickness worse. And I'm just like, that makes sense. I understand, but I'm not homesick. I don't want to go home. I'm having fun. I just want to know what's going on at home. And they're just like, you know what? You're upset. Sit on the side of this hill. They had me sit on the side of this hill until I gained my composure again. And I was sitting there like, what is this about? Like, it was like the weirdest thing. My mom came and picked me up in my great grandmother's old Ford LTD. And I knew as soon as I saw that car, she passed away. And that's what that bad feeling was. And she came, and once we got home, she took me into her bedroom and she told me that on the 4th of July, my great grandmother died at her kitchen table of a heart attack in the evening. So I somehow tapped into that. And I at that point, it's like I already had dealt with it. I was more like surprised that I knew about it. It was really like weird to me as like a small child trying to figure all that out. And I never fully understood it. I knew that somehow I tapped into spirit or something. I thought that maybe, I don't know. I didn't know what it was. And until that night that psychic showed me what it was. And I'm learning that there's a lot more to me just being an empath too. Apparently those are more than empathic things that happen. It's just really crazy, and it's a really neat path to go down. So yeah, I don't know. What do you as a non-sensitive, as an insensitive person?
Yeah, this is like the crazy stuff that like when people are struggling to deal with the paranormal, and you kind of bridge that gap of like if the paranormal is real or not. You know, my main I guess like argument would be trying to point them towards, you know, the kids that know stuff that you know they're not supposed to, or like the different psychics that are very, very accurate, and that kind of helps bridge the gap, at least in my conversations. But interesting enough, I had a conversation with I know backstage, Shawn and I were talking about the investigation that we're going on next Saturday, but I was actually talking with the owner, and when her son was born, someone said that there was like a bunch of color to him, that it wasn't so much like a rainbow, but there was like a lot of color, like when they saw him. So, you know, I just assumed that it was like them seeing all of his energy, and he's always such a mellow kid. But there was this one scenario where, even to this day, very, very mellow, but they were driving, and he just starts kicking the back seat and screaming and everything going on. And, he's just freaking out, which is totally not his nature. So, and so the mom pulls off the side of the road into like a CVS or something. And, she gets out of the car to check on him because something is seriously wrong, because he's never like this. And she hears this loud noise. And it was crazy because a semi hit the car that was right behind them in line. And it was as if he was telling her that something bad was going to happen. And then, of course, for years, he just went on, just being mellow like he usually is. And, as he's grown up, he might be closing in on 20 now. He's had these, sensitive experiences, but just the whole idea of it, almost like that aha moment of, oh, something's, there's like a real gift here. So for me, who's, very a very grounded person, I haven't spent the, I wasn't quote unquote born with it, but I know that there's ways to get in touch with it. I just haven't invested those hours, which is, in a sense, a good thing, when it comes to all these paranormal investigations, just being grounded and being there for the ones that are sensitive. It's phenomenal to hear everyone's story. It really is. And it's eye-opening, because there's a lot of people that say, there's no afterlife, there's no such thing as paranormal and everything, but there's so many people, that I trust and I believe, and, I trust my life with them, that have these experiences, that it's comforting and very eye-opening.
I don't know. I can definitely dig it, and I appreciate that, and that's why I think one of the reasons why I like working with you so much is because you're so open to it, and how much you really want to take in from it. So, I'm excited to go on this investigation and go into this place and feel it out, because it's never been fully investigated before. So I'm excited to kind of go in there and feel it out and see.
Yeah, it turns out there was one team like 4 years ago that went out with the sun, and apparently the sun got scratched in the basement and it was bleeding a little bit, and that's kind of like where they left off.
Really?
Yeah, but they didn't remember who it was. They said it was a team from Cleveland, so I was rattling off some names, but they didn't remember anyone. Hopefully it wasn't that Ectovision or something. Oh,
no, it wasn't. Oh,
they're the worst.
They're the worst. They suck.
Yeah. There's a Shawn guy on that Ecto. He's on the Ectovision team.
On the Ecto team.
Yeah.
The Ecto. Oh, people. So, how's Ecto? Oh, sorry. Anyways, with that, Teresa, she's trying to get ahead of us here. Teresa, she wants to know about your upcoming shows. First, before we do that, we have a video, but we talked about how the police do back you and how it's in your book. There's a video on your website. Is it okay if I go ahead and share that?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share here.
And this when I was reading like Ed and Lorraine's book, I don't know, Robbie, if you're familiar with like Ed and Lorraine's story. It was like I honestly I even forget the title, but it's all of their different paranormal adventures, going into the different cases, but the name escapes me. But I feel like the biggest thing was if people are ever on the fence of like if the paranormal's real, psychics are real, etc. That book was just so reassuring to me. There were so many testimonials. They worked with the churches, they worked with the army, like the U.S. Army, and with that kind of credibility, I don't know, it was just so reassuring. So when we were looking at your website, this is definitely something that we wanted to highlight for everyone, because I think this is the stuff that's just so profound.
Definitely. I agree. I want to make sure I have the right video here.
Yeah, there was one on your website.
FBI agent. That one there is an FBI agent.
Mm-hmm. There was one on your
That
website
one-
that had multiple people. It was like
Hold on. That was on. Where'd it go?
it's on the like if you go to the homepage and you just scroll down past the photos.
Perfect. There it is. Wait, nope.
Demonologist. That was the book I was thinking of for Ed Lorraine Warren. Yeah.
Which? Bryan, are you able to do the screen share?
Hmm.
Oh, wait, I think I found it. Here it is. Okay.
Technology.
I agree.
All right. Sorry, I had the wrong one set up. I had one set up. I promise. I just goofed it up.
I feel like I have to go grab my haunted dolls from the basement because you got the Parapooch out, you've got the SpongeBob out.
Yeah.
And you go grab some trigger objects.
My guy.
Is there any significance to SpongeBob or?
Well, I just love SpongeBob, and my kid bought me that one year, and so I did a spoof. Everywhere I went, I put him in the car, put him in a restaurant, put him wherever I went, and there was SpongeBob, and I made that goofy face like, But yeah, it was great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's the dog behind me. He's a trigger prop object. So he's actually like a REM pod, but looks like a dog. So it makes it more friendly. I think people still say that that's a scary looking dog. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a dog lover. I think it's awesome. I don't know. Okay, so here is it.
Yes.
Okay. Oops. Okay. Oh wait. I just am a moron. Sorry.
A little bit of volume.
Yeah, I know. I messed up.
Hey, that's good. Live stuff is good.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's real.
I forgot to click this little box here. I have to, in order to have audio play, I have to click this little teeny tiny box. And I forgot to click the little box. So now we will have sound. And here we go.
Hey everybody, I'm Psychic Profiler Robbie Thomas, and what you're about to watch are some of the endorsements from law enforcement I've had the opportunity to work with over the years. And this is what they have to say.
Hello, my name is Andy DeLay. I'm a law enforcement officer in Pinellas County, Florida. My interaction with Robbie Thomas has been positive from the get-go. He soon came to London, Kentucky, where Robbie went to the scene with me and the family, and he used his talents to accurately put together what had happened in this fire. In fact, that it had happened by the men being robbed, beaten, and the home set on fire. Now, I definitely understand Robbie has these gifts given to him. I conducted my investigation with all my years of law enforcement experience, and it was done to law enforcement protocol. We found in the end that the person who Robbie felt through his gifts had committed this, or one of them that committed this, did give a deathbed confession about this. In the end, closure was made due to Robbie's gifts. The family was able to move forward. I was able to feel good and knowing that a crime was solved. I thank you, Robbie Thomas, for your gifts and the fact that you use your gifts to help not only law enforcement, but victims of these crimes when law enforcement comes to a dead end. Now, there's something that I've told Robbie, and I want everyone looking at this to know. Robbie to law enforcement is just like a drug dog. And you may think that that's not so nice, but it's actually a big compliment. We use canines to find drugs and illegal substances inside of houses and cars and to find people. Thank God we have them. Robbie has a gift from God that is just like a canine. We use his gift to find that little bit of evidence that we need to make closure to heinous crimes and to make the victims feel better about everything, and they can move on with their life with closure, knowing that those that they love did not die without justice being served.
Cliff Christ. I'm a former Texas police sergeant with over 25 years of law enforcement experience. I was contacted some years ago by Robbie Thomas to assist in the location of Paige Bergefeld. I found that all of Robbie Thomas's predictions and things that he saw during remote viewing to be factual. It was our job to attempt to locate the things that he had saw. Robbie was positive that the suspect in the murder was Lester Jones and predicted many things about Mr. Jones that have come true at this time. The area where Paige Bergefeld was, her remains were found. He had drawn pictures of the area. We searched up to that area. After the victim's remains were found, we did realize that we were less than a quarter mile from that location during our initial search. We did match some of the pictures that Robbie Thomas had drawn of the area to include signs pointing towards a horse farm, and they did match exactly. Personally, in all my years of law enforcement and investigative experience, I have never encountered a person that could be so spot on with all the information that he had given us, unless they were originally a suspect in this case. And of course, Mr. Thomas was nowhere near that location, so he couldn't have possibly known some of the things that he had given us. So I do feel that his abilities are 100% truthful and 100% way above bar as far as any other psychic remote viewer that I have ever dealt with before.
I'm Martha Hazard Decker. I'm retired Assistant Chief of Police and Lead Investigator. During my time with East Texas Town, I specialized in crimes against children. I specialized in the Patriot or Sovereign Citizen. I worked with state and federal agencies in that capacity. I even did some undercover work. I was a negotiator. I was also an instructor. Actually, I still am an instructor. And from there, I went to work for the state as a child death investigator or special investigator, if you want to use that term. I attended autopsies. I visited perpetrators or alleged perpetrators for interviewing purposes in prison, in state jail, in county jails, just wherever I needed to go, plus a host of other things. And during the time that I've known Robbie, I've worked with him. I've assisted him on several cases. If he has law enforcement questions, he'll ask me. If I have any questions, I ask him. We've also worked on several cases together, including most recently is this year. I've talked to him at length with one of my unsolved cases, and we've talked about a lot of other things. I respect Robbie. He does a great job at what he does, and I would love to, and I've always wanted to work with Robbie on many things other than what we've already worked on together.
Now, Robbie, you each time that you come on, we always talk about some of the cases that you're working on with the police. And the case that was going on down here called the Baseline Killer was actually the Baseline Killers. One of them turned state's evidence and our state's witness and testified against the other. But before they were caught, you were on this show and you described for us what the police would find. And you said it's not one, it's two. It's a younger guy and an older guy, and they've already talked to them. And they will go back to them as suspects, and they're the ones that did it. And you told us some other details, and all of that within a few days, maybe a week or two. It all hit the news here. The arrest was made, and it was exactly as you had described it. And it was just amazing. Well, the trial is over now, and the chief suspect has been convicted. The other one pled guilty to a lesser charge and turned state's evidence or state's witness. And this one has been convicted. And it was really chilling because it all played out exactly as you told us before it happened. And you do this with other law enforcement agencies all around the world. Are you working?
Hey, everybody. My name is Robert Bulk. Currently, I'm a paranormal investigator. I have past law enforcement experience, including being a bodyguard and working for many security companies, as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the early 80s. Anyhow, there's the law enforcement, the way they do things, not much has changed in those from the time I was in until now. And I can tell you there is one thing that has changed, and that's that they have an extra tool now, and that is Robbie Thomas. Robbie Thomas is the new tool of the law enforcement for this era. Let me tell you guys, there's nobody like this guy. No one is like this person. This guy takes 100% of his heart, time, money, and effort. It includes his family and every little detail and every move that he makes when he's dealing with investigations. He puts his personal self into it, 180%. This guy is totally different than any other clairvoyance that you'll ever see. He's directed to one task and one task only, and that's finding these guys that hunt down innocent children and people and kill them and hurt them. This guy is truly an angel sent from heaven. I endorse him 100%.
So I got to tell you what, like, I don't get sick of watching that because it puts faces to the detectives in the story. A lot of those detectives were in the book.
They were.
Yeah, that's just so significant.
Yeah, that's reliving every, as you listen to them speak, I'm reliving all those cases and walking through every step with those guys. And just amazing. I mean, praise go to Lord Jesus Christ that we got these people and we put them away.
Yep. Yeah, and thank God they had you to help them do that. Because I'll tell you what, guys, you got to read this book because this story, I mean, and the thing is like anyone can tell a story, but he gives the facts to back it up. He gives the letters and everything, texts, emails. They're all images in the book. I mean, I showed you guys that one case that they have, but here's one that's an email. So I mean, it's all and they're images, so they're not like drawn or anything. Here, real quick. First, Cindy Harper. I don't know if you're still hot here, but hey. Here, Karma Wild. She says that she has a case that she's been studying in South Carolina. There are multiple victims, all with within a triangle that she calls the dead zone. Please contact me so I can give you the specifics on the case. Wow. So look at that. You come on the show and you get a case.
Yeah.
I bet that happens a lot, though.
It does. Just this week alone, I think we had a dozen. And every week it's either a dozen. I get hundreds of them a year. I just finished a case. Oh, you brought that up in the beginning of the show. Now that this beautiful lady just said this, it was a murder / suicide. And I worked a week with that. It was a little boy. And sure enough, it was suicide, unfortunately, unfortunately. But yeah, so cases come in and there's a long line. I hate saying that. And I hate saying I'm the only guy doing it out there because they keep calling and writing. And I only work through law enforcement because I took the third party. And if you go to my website on the contact page, it says, I will not answer to third party people because it's just, I don't know, it makes it that much more of a theater than anything. So I go directly from mom and dad, detective to me, and we have what we're doing here, video, or I go to their home, or they fly me there, and I do what I do. A great case we get into, a good example was out in Washington. Two cases. Out in Washington, I get a call. It's a CIA agent. Her daughter's missing. Can I help? And I've worked with CIA, FBI, as you see, NSA, marshals. I work with all your top people over there, and I'm a Canuck. And yeah, throw a little light and humor in there, I guess, But so we go down to Maryland, and the girl's missing. But before I go, I do all my drawings, all my facts, get it all done, and then I fax it down to the DSA's office in Maryland. No longer than 5 minutes goes by, and how in the hell could you know this, and how in the hell do you know that, and we're going to put you on a plane, and you're coming here. And sure enough, I fly into Ronald Reagan Airport, get off, and they put me in a hotel with my wife. I bring my wife on every death scene, every criminal case I do. I need my pillar, and she's there, and she watches me what I do. So if there's ever a book to be written, you guys should look for the book coming from her. I'm not saying she's going to, but I mean, she'll tell you everything. Good, bad, and the ugly. So there we are. We're going through the field, and Homer says, get in the car. Well, first of all, we're in the DSA office. He hands me suspect A, suspect B, victim. And I'm looking at this, and then he takes a map of Maryland, Virginia, throws it on the table and goes, okay, find her. And that's all I got. So now I'm kind of ticked because I just flew all the way there. It was Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. So I'm working on a holiday. I work on all holidays every day of the year. And I'm down there, and these guys are putting forth their greatest effort. And I'm looking at the family, and we're in there. And sure enough, he goes, get in the car. So we drive around. He goes, is this the spot? Is this the spot? And I've done this many times with detectives over and over. So I just blurted it out. I said, Homer, stop. I said, this is the ritual you guys always do. And you're trying to find out if I'm genuine. I said, stop. What I gave you is go back to that road. And he pulls a car off the road, gets out. He says, get out. And he stands on the car like this. And he's staring at me for a good, 30 seconds maybe. And he goes, I don't know how the fuck you do it. He goes, nobody knew about that road. And nobody knew how it went 5 minutes from the murderer's home, and that all the garbage was there and exactly how you drew it. And he goes, I've been looking at that road for 2 years. And he says, there's no way you could have known either that her phone pinged off the one tower in the county when she went missing to Andrews Air Force Base there. He goes, but you knew all that. And he went through everything. So then they brought out the dog team, and they went through and they found a bag. And he was missing tools, and she was missing items, woman items. And in the bag were woman items, tools, flip phones, and a weapon. Wow. That's been locked away, and that case is still going on. it got into where, I hate to say it, but we're in bad times in the United States, and all the prestige of what's going on with all the fighting and everything with people and protesting. But you go back in the time I did this, there wasn't any of that. But this is what happened, that mom didn't want to take the stand because daughter was /hooker /heroin /drug dealer. And the guy was, that guy. He was that guy. And so, and I hate to term this in case she's listening to it, but it's just the truth, and the truth sets you free, right? So I'm saying, I'm there, and they said, you got to take the stand against him. She wouldn't because of her position in CIA. So they washed her hands with the case, handed it to a guy who was going to retire. So he says, I need money for DNA. I need money for this test. I need money for that test. And she didn't give the money for this. So the bag sits in holding because it's not being looked at. We know it is it. So now they escort me back to my hotel, and I got radio comes over. Now we spent 3 days doing this dog team thing and marching out, and NSA was there, everybody. So then all of a sudden a call comes on his shoulder. We know he's in town. Can you ask him if he'll stay and come to Washington? And so she's the boss. She's in the back of the squad, and I'm here, and I look at her, and she goes like this. She always does, So permission, and they take us right up to Washington. This case is 1986, and it's a high-profile case of a biker, big bike gang, one of your major bike gangs you have. And he shot her, he stabbed her, he had sex with her, and then he put her in a red sleeping bag, and then he buried her in the ground. Video and stuff of this. So he's in jail since 1986 for this. This is 2017. They've been digging for her body since 1991 because they did a sweep in the cells, and they found a piece of paper with a bunch of names with check marks. And they were all the guys who turned state's evidence against him in the bike gang. He was going to come out and wipe off the face of the earth. That's what they did. So they said, get him up here. We got limited time. We got to keep him in jail, and he's got to help us so that we can keep him in jail. So we pull in. Back in 86, it was farmyards, and it was a lot of land. He had a trailer over here, and about 100 yards over this way was his sister's trailer. And there was one road in, and there was a well in the middle. And I said to the younger detective, I said, do you have aerial photos? And he said, yeah, we do. And he ran to the car, and he come back, and I swear, there was dust coming off these things, right? So he pulls them out. I take one aerial shot. I turn it about 30 degrees, and I said, look at the topography of the land and watch the creek. And it changed a little bit because of the years, but there it was. And I said, now the road would have been here coming in, and then John goes, stop. He goes, this is the older guy. He's been on the case since 1991 digging. He goes, you tell me one thing, and I'll let you stay on my crime scene. You tell me one thing that how she died and what it is, and you can stay. And I'm thinking to myself, well, dude, you just asked me to come up here. Now you're telling me I got to tell you this? So I sat there, and I was like frustrated. I'm looking at all these cops who are all just bewildered because they've been digging and digging. And this is all $1 million homes now, all over the place, all over. And it looked like a set of E.T. and there's squad cars and diggers all over. It looked like a movie scene. So I said, yeah, I see her buried, but there's something on top of her, and it's like a tank. And I didn't get any other words out, and he hugged me. And he goes, brother. And he hugged me again, and he goes, nobody knew that. Only we did, but we don't know where. And he ripped the patches off his arms, and I show them sometimes. I show all the patches sometimes on Facebook. I go, this is what you get for working with the police, right? This is my reward, is that I've worked with them, and they give me that, and I feel honor for them. I mean, I feel honored being with them, and they just gave me this. Choice of words. I got to use my words right. But yeah, and he hands them to my wife, and then he goes, where? And I looked at the photo again, and I said, where would her trailer be? And he went over there, and I said, now. And then the younger fella, he runs, And he's over there, and all the cops stand up, and these guys are like 7-8 feet tall. I'm not kidding you. These are monster cops you got down there. And these guys are all like big hands and everything. And I'm looking at these guys, great. And so I walk with John over there, and he goes, where? And I said, John, and I see it right away. And there's an iron fence, and it's about 12 feet by 12 feet by 12 feet, maybe longer, 15 feet by 15 square. And there's vegetation along the inside of this iron fence. It's about, I'd say, 3.5, 4 feet high. And there's a tree in the middle. And the tree in the land, and I said, John, what happens to a tank since 1986 to 10 years or whatever? He goes, it would decay. And I'm looking at it. He looks at me, and he looks at the ground, and he goes, point. And I said, well, right there. And the tree in the middle, and the land was like this, and it crumbled like that. And that's where the tank would have been, right there with the tree. So that garden was put with the tree right where she was buried.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Wow. Yeah, that's and then again, getting that closure that people need so desperately. Erin Kasmarsek, she wants to know, are you ever overloaded with cases? If so, how do you prioritize? Do you ever work more than one case at a time? How do you tell the difference between the two? Are you ever working on a case? And I think she just wants you to answer all of her questions. Okay, working on a case and have to stop because something comes in through spirit, and that makes you have to turn to another case. I'm sorry for all the questions, she says. I'm really curious and fascinated.
No, great questions. Let's go back to that one in Washington. I'll tie this in for the last part of her 2 questions. So looking for the bag, we got the flip phones, the weapon, the tools, and blouse and what have you. And they take that, and they said a year later, to the very day, I get a phone call from the CIA agent, the mom. And she says, Robbie, you found her. You found her. And I go, oh, yeah, we found her. But she said, we got to do DNA, not DNA, we got to do dental records because she's all really decayed. And I said, okay. So we waited for that, and it was a couple weeks went by, and she called back. She goes, Robbie, and this goes into this lovely lady's question. You didn't find her. You found somebody else's murdered baby, exactly how you said it would be. She was wrapped up in a red blanket 100 feet from the road. So I found I broke from that case because spirit made me, and we found this other family's murdered baby, and then whisked off to Washington. So it was actually 3 cases in that short week. And am I ever overloaded? Yeah. Yeah. Overloaded. Like there's a good example. There's one good example, working that case with in Maryland and being whisked off to Washington to do that. And then actually finding two cases here and one here. That's 3. And then, like I said, we here's proof right here on the show. A lady's asked me to, do this case, and then I got dozens of cases and dozens and dozens. It's overload for sure. How do I prioritize? It goes to the people who are waiting the longest, and we go through that route. I got the names. I have a TV series. Hollywood's been after me for a long time, since 2010. So this is 10 years gone by, and Oprah wanted me. I shot with America's Most Wanted. I'm the very only psychic who's ever been filmed by America's Most Wanted and done double homicide. It was Loretta Lynn's distant relative, so we all know who Loretta Lynn is. I remember her calling me on the phone, guys, and it was funny because it was Patsy Lynn, and she says, my mom wants to talk to you. And I thought, yeah, you want to talk to me, whatever, but yeah. So she said she'll call. So the butler calls me at 7:00 on the dot, and he goes, Miss Loretta Lynn will speak with you. So I'm talking with Loretta Lynn. I got the phone like this so my wife can hear, and we talked for an hour and a half like this, and we talked about Jack Benny, Johnny Cash stories. She wanted me to come up and redo the Hurricane Mills special, but at the time I was doing the hurricane that happened in New Orleans, and I was doing a special down there, and Van Prague ended up doing her TV special instead of me, and we raised money down in New Orleans for all the people and fed them. And that's what we did. Was Mike, forget his name, from the Google Dolls. He was there and I was there, so we were doing that. But getting back on track, yeah, so we have to prioritize. And then looking at my TV show, I've had producers from Dog to Bounty Hunter and producers from Dog and Beth. And I got producers from all these other major crime shows, America's Most Wanted, and then about a year ago, and they've been after me and everything, trying to get me to do this show. And my cast members are all law enforcement from America. They're high-ranking officers, from chief of police down to lieutenants to detectives. And I've done cases with them. I've worked with them for 30 years, and they're all my blue line, my brothers, and they're going to be on my show. And we got one objective, and that is to help families and put families first, and then get the bad guys and put them away, or find the missing and bring them home. That's my objective. I wanted to retire this past Christmas that just passed. I turned to Leisha, that's my wife's name. I said, I'm done. My contract ran out with the one directors, and I thought, weight off my shoulder. I'm done, because I've done it for 30 years. I've seen so much. I've seen a lot of death. I've seen bodies. I'm done. And then I get this one email 3 or 4 days into January, and it said, could you please call me? And so I did. And we talked, and it was every day for like 2-3 hours, holding meetings with all the law enforcement people, pulling all the cases again in, a lot of high profile cases from America. And the funny thing is, I get all the witnesses of these cases, and this is really strange. And I still to this day have a hard time understanding this, but they contact me. They don't go to the police. They contact me. So then I, in turn, have to go to the police and say, you don't understand who's sitting in my back pocket right now, but we need to have this done. And yeah, there's a lot of high profile cases like that. And right at the end of that Christmas, I did 4 cases. They're out of Nebraska and California, the one in Alabama and Mississippi, and forget the other one. But I had to do them all. I wanted to get them all done because, like I told you, I was going to retire. I'm done. I was just finished. Then I turned to Leisha, and I said, these people want to sign me for like 7-10 more years. Each one of them do. And I'm looking at them going, all right, I'm 54 now, and I've done this for 30. I gave my life to people. I've literally given my life. I'm going all over America, Canada, and everywhere, out of my own pockets, and most times too. And I just, I just look at it and go, it's time. It's time to move on. I've been away on my kids' birthdays. I've been away on my anniversaries. I've missed every holiday you can think of with my families and for other people. And you read in the book a very good quote my wife said. She said, I love perfect strangers. I do this for perfect strangers. And it's true. And I took her words and I put it in a book, but I dedicated that book to her because she's my life, and that was my life gone for other people. So here we are. I'm in a dilemma, fellas, and I got contracts for TV. I'm a little excited about that. Don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking all those people now that I can get to like this and help and do it on a vast scale. That's what it counts, and that's what matters to me.
Yeah, it's hard to find that balance.
Yeah.
Especially, with a life of servitude. It's how do you best serve your loved ones, your family, and give them the best version of yourself versus continue to be the public servant that you are. I guess it's like a lot of soul searching. If there was a way to blend, best of both worlds, or maybe it is, you just do it on the side, or just, have the priority as the loved ones, and then, focus on the other ones as a side. But that's a tough decision.
Well, it is. And
Sure.
it's like you say, blend the both worlds. I remember, and I shouldn't have to do this, but I brought my family, and like I told you, I bring my wife on murder cases, but I brought my family, my children. And in the book, I talk about the Victoria Stafford case. I brought my children to meet their family, and it's like every family adopts my family, and that's the only way I can be with them. If I'm not, then I'm weeks or days away from them all the time. And yeah,
That's gotta.
Wow.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Like, even like as a paranormal investigator, or my day job keeps me home, so that's nice. But like going and investigating, going away for days, that's rough. There's one case that I had a really hard time reading. It was the trafficking one about that girl. I'm a father of girls. That was hard for me to read. And then so just as a family guy myself, I understand, but it's like it's got to be tough because people need you, and you know it, and you feel it, and it's amazing what you do, and I whenever I come across somebody who's in the military, you know, even a family member, I say thank you, and I also thank them because I know what commitment it is, not only for the soldier but also for the family, because everybody makes that commitment, and not everybody has volunteered for that commitment, and it's hard, but in the end, you know, you're making a huge difference out there, and that's gotta make them proud of you. They've got to be able to be like, yeah, that's my dad. My dad's awesome.
It got to the point. It got past that. It got to the point where it's like, huh, his dad again. And yeah, it's got to that, right?
Yeah.
But they know, and they've been around. They've seen me in the movies, and they see me on different shows, and then, you know, my new series that I'm in, that I produced the segment of, Halloween Obsessed. I mean,
boom.
Yeah, you know, there's my wife. She's sitting on the arm of the chair.
Oh, that's your wife?
That's my wife.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then there's the guy from Engaged in Ink to my right, sitting down, and then the film crew. And yeah, you know, I've done this radio show with this award-winning director from LA. She has a radio show called Bat Chat, and I've done it for years with her. And one day she just called me up because she's heard all the stories. Like, I've been to Europe doing paranormal investigations. I've been to places where people would dream putting their feet in the belly of a live volcano where there's a pirate boat in the lagoon and going down 300 feet, and, you know, the sulfur pits are bubbling. I mean, I was in there my first time, 1994, and then 2015. I'm going back again this July to do more filming there. I mean, it's just not a building. These are real cool places, and I'm just thinking, you know, it's amazing. I'm just honored, and you know, so she took these stories and we put them in there to Halloween Obsessed, and I'm telling these stories sitting in a chair. I'm explaining to you, and you guys are going to see the film footage that's never been seen before. And you're going to see me going down these stairs. You're going to see me going into the lagoon. You're going to see me in the sulfur pits. You're going to see me all this stuff. And then the Sallie House movie in 2007. You're going to hear me talking about that. And you're going to hear me talking about Dead Whisper in 2005. I'm talking about Mantino State Asylum and all the buildings. They're not there anymore. I mean, people would have dreamed to go in all those buildings, and it's too bad they got rid of them. The Studebaker Mansion, I'm to this day still the only guy they've ever let in there to do a paranormal investigation. I uncovered a lot of things that they never thought the public would find out, and they closed the doors. It's amazing. The Studebaker Mansion.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think it's called Canoe, Indiana.
Donna, I've seen the chair. The chair is awesome. Actually, Here, real quick, I have like another really short clip that Robbie sent me here. Since we're talking about the show, right? Here, it's really cool. You guys kind of get to see this chair. It's awesome.
So haunting. I mean, the spirits were there. Believe you me.
So cool. That's like the teaser of all teasers. And the spirits were there. Believe you me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all you're getting.
That's all you get. You see me sit in this cool ass chair.
Yeah.
Talking about the spirits. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll tell you what, this quantum generator guy has a lot to say. I don't know. I'm kind of reading through this guy's comments, and I'll just do just so people can kind of have an idea, because the people in Facebook land don't get to see. It's just civilians are too intellectually and technologically feeble to detect, much less comprehend, the kind of communication that's occurring amongst a much more advanced species, especially paranormal. He's got all sorts of interesting comments that are very. Thank you, Quantum Generator. I want to say I love the comments. I don't have time to share them all, but I love what you're saying. Keep them coming, man. I appreciate it. Tina, no, that's chair. Tina,
right? Yeah, you know, that funny thing about that chair is when I sat in, I felt so small, because when you sit in, your ass goes down, but your legs are higher than your ass, and the back of the chair is like 5 feet up, right? And you're looking at it, going, "Holy crap!" Yeah.
I don't know. I need a chair like that in my house. I don't know.
I mean, we need all kinds of those.
Right?
Yeah. The beer drinking chair, you just sit in it and you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, that'll be my bourbon chair. Yes, bourbon. That's my new thing. I've gotten into bourbon. It's a new venture of mine. So yeah, if you guys follow me on the Facebook, Sundays I usually do a barbecue and bourbon on Sunday, where I just like do a quick barbecue thing and I'm sipping on my bourbon. But yes, that chair. I mean, it just says it all. The chair just brings the character, and it brings in what you do, and it's like oh, what was that guy's name who sat in the chair and he read the books a long time ago? I don't remember. It's an old TV show, Bryan, like it's got to be before your time.
Yeah, I know.
But he would read the books, and he had that voice, like, I don't know.
Night Gallery?
Maybe. I don't know, but it was an old TV show. I don't know.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about that chair, and this is really out there, because you see that chair. Not too many people would have that chair.
No.
So I Googled, and I looked at all these chairs for about 20 minutes. I go, oh, I like that chair. I just happened to want that chair. So I put it on my page.
Sorry.
Reading Rainbow, yeah.
Reading Rainbow. I did watch that when I was a kid.
And the Green Giant.
Anna book. Reading Rainbow. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I put on Facebook, does anybody know where I can get a chair like this? And within 20 minutes, somebody goes, yeah, exact chair. And I said, what? And then they put somebody's name, fits and price. There you go.
That's the one. Thank you.
I said, you're kidding. So it turned out that they had the exact chair, right down to the moldings, everything, the exact chair. And it's a guy who is in a hit show called Engaged in Ink, like I explained. He's the producer and host. He has the chair. And I'm thinking, oh, well, what's the chances of me? Where does he live? Like, I got to travel some far? No, he lived like 20 minutes from my house. So what's the chances of a guy having that chair 20 minutes from my house? Right? Yeah. And he goes, you know what? I live in an old church that's 1800s, and it was part of the Underground Railroad. It's been redone. You can have my house for filming. And everything's just falling in line, right? Awesome. And when we shot the segment only took 4 hours to film. and everything just flowed, and it was just like it was meant to be. Because usually, day, 2 days, maybe longer, 4 hours.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool, and it's so great. That just lets you know that you're doing what you're meant to be doing at that moment.
Right.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. And now there's another project. Are you able to talk about that one too?
Which one is that one now?
The other one that you had me put on the poster.
The Psychic Profilers show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about, where I have all my law enforcement is my cast members. I created that show back in 2006. It was supposed to be the original Medium show, where everybody sees on TV now. Everybody's going to get a kick out of this. That was supposed to be the original Medium show. When Medium came out, Jennifer something or other, she did it based on cases, but they weren't solved, and it was like fictional, factual kind of the Medium show. But so we kiboshed that, but it got registered with the Los Angeles Guild. So I have my show still there. So I went along, and then we turned it into, well, they're coming out with that, and nobody's ever solved many cases. Let's do the real thing. And so we did, and we shot and filmed in 2011 with America's Most Wanted. Oprah Winfrey wanted the show immediately, but then she went into that money woes on OWN, and it got kiboshed. Then we kept doing it and presenting it, and here we are. And those are film clips from Kentucky when we did with America's Most Wanted. That's International Police Chief Kevin Smith, my partner. There's one of the directors. There's me. I'm reading one of the trucks from one of the dead children. I'm looking at autopsy photos sitting down with the brown envelope, where there's the film crew to the very top left, and that is America's Most Wanted film crew. Kevin Smith, Chief of Police, I'm standing there, and one of the producers are to my right, and we're going over a lot of the factual things. That photograph of me chewing my nail, that was a year prior to, and the headline said, Psychic says case was improperly investigated. And during that time of 2010 and 2011, I uncovered a lot of corruption. The sheriff who was in at the time, they found out everything I said, because I called a meeting, and I had the fire chief. No, that's not in there. It's going to be in my next book. This is going to be a long story. It'll probably be like 100 pages on its own.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay.
Had the fire chief, had the incoming sheriff, I had the mom, I had a person taking minutes, and I have the minutes still, which I'm going to release in that book so everybody can see what all really got transpired. And I said to the coroner, I said, how did you become, I'm not making fun of anybody. No, please, I'm going to use a Southern accent and stuff, because this is how he said it to me. I'm not making fun. This is going to blow your mind, though. This is really how it happens. And so I'm sitting there, and I said, how did you become coroner? And you lost your larynx. How did you lose parts? And because I'm trying to get down to who's all tied to this murder case. I'm trying to suck him in, which I did, and I want to get tied into this, right? And he goes, well, son, the sheriff handed me a VHS tape, and I watched it for 7 days. And I said, okay, and then everybody's looking at each other, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, this is a movie you see on TV, and this is not funny now, right? How this happens, but it happens in America all the time. And it's not the first time I've seen this stuff. And so I said, okay, I need to know the backstory. He says, well, I was a grocery clerk. And I said, okay, you're a grocery clerk. Then how did you become coroner? Because you have to go to school, become a medical doctor. You have to be 10, 12 years in becoming a doctor in order to be appointed that position or apply and become a coroner, because you become a state coroner physician. He goes, no. He says, the sheriff said if I could tell if a man died. And I said, hell yeah, I can tell if a man died just by looking at him if he had a heart attack. And he said, that's how he handed me the VHS tape, told me to go home and watch it. And I said, you're kidding. And then like our jaws are hitting the floor. And we're sitting there watching. This is like a made-for-TV movie, like, freaking, I don't know. Anyways, and I'm mad at this. I'm still mad at this. Because Mom is sitting right there, and she's listening to this guy like this. And she thought it was more professional and stuff in this area. And so we're talking Butcher's Holler, Kentucky. And I'm looking at this guy. And so I drag him in about the larynx and everything. And so I come to find out when I went to the paper and I had the paper, these guys are all trapped now. I got them in my game. I play people. I've learned over 30 years how to play people very well. And so in saying that, he was guilty. The sheriff burnt the files. And this is on the news. And if you Google it to this day, I think you can Google it. Kentucky sheriff, whatever, burns files because he heard about what was going on. We got all the minutes. We got the newspaper and stuff in there. There was going to be a switchover of sheriffs. He ended up burning all the files, and all the case files were gone, disappeared. So we're down there, America's Most Wanted now, and we're filming, and we've busted this thing wide open. The water cop, I can't remember. I got a brain tumor, and I was hitting him with questions. And it's funny how he can remember everything before the thing and after, but he couldn't remember that one specific moment. So I'm playing him, and then playing everybody else. What happened was Kentucky Fried Chicken, Walmart, all your conglomerates came in, bought the mountainside up, paid everybody off. Everybody got cash, and the little girl and the little boy who paid for their life, all these kids of these folks who got paid, who run this town, were the kids who killed these two little children, but they don't want to get sued and lose all their money. It's a real big story. So when you hear it in the book, when it comes out, and that's how it is. You heard it here first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I get into it deep. I get into it real deep. People say psychics, they go on and they do these things. And, I'm looking for, I said, if there's anybody out there who does that, please call up and they take him onto that. I hope they start putting these stories out there, making these people scared, because there's people out there who should be scared of people like me and whoever else working with the law enforcement who go down there and chase you, put you on the game, and you're going to jail. But I haven't seen, there's a lot of talk, I want people to come forward, tell these things instead of saying, I've worked with the police. Well, show the proof. That's why I brought the book out. You have the cases, you have the testimonials, you have all the facts, you have the reports. They're all in there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, like anyone can write a story, but that these are true and that's the way everything transpires. So you said I noticed that there's a volume 1 that, I knew there, I was going to ask you about volume 2.
Yeah.
When can we expect volume 2? And I want to know, will there be a better 50-page bonus book so I know to purchase that one from you as well?
Yeah. See, I'm smart over this business too, right? I have, everything, right? Yeah, you can only get that through my office because that one book, that volume 2 will have stories like, you remember that little boy in Kansas that went missing? And I forget his name. So live, can't even think of his name right now. Lucas Hernandez. The little boy went missing. It was a very high profile case. They had, oh my gosh, I'm working from here with the dog teams with EchoSearch, and then they broke from EchoSearch, and they were working with me. And I talked to the detective. The detective says, "Yeah, I want you to talk to anybody you want," because when they arrested the one guy, brought him in. You can only hold him for 48 hours. So they brought in a witness/suspect because he knew something. Put him in, questioned him. They can't hold him much longer, so they released him. Well, weren't they waiting for him down the block? And as he got out of the holding in the police station, they ran him over with a car and killed him. So there goes suspect number 1, gone. Wife, stepmom, sorry, of Lucas. We heard the story. It's been in the news. She held the gun to her head and long rifle and pulled the trigger. Very difficult for someone to hold a long rifle, especially a woman. Women don't shoot themselves psychologically. The numbers are very, very short on that end scale. And just happened that the husband found her in the empty house. Things don't add up, right? So I don't want to give too much away to everybody, but I got photographs, again, aerial shots. I lead them down. I'm sitting here and I'm saying to the person in Kansas, paw, knee. like paw and knee. And sure enough, the witness we want to speak to, who was the aunt of the mother, lived on Pawnee Road. It was Pawnee Road. She lived right there. So I'm giving all the details straight where the Air Force Base is, for how many feet where she would have been to the Air Force Base, or miles, and everything, and it all tied in, and it got all the demographics and everything from the authorities down there. So this is what will be in the next book too as well. So you'll get that. Yeah, so I mean, there's so many cases to choose from and put in. Without me giving away a lot of the details, but you just heard two that are going in there for sure.
That's exciting.
Wow, that is so cool. Here, real quick, Melissa Grubbs, she says hi, and she wants to know, how did you get involved in profiling? Well, Melissa, if you had been here at the beginning of the show, no, I'm kidding. Also, read the book.
Poor Melissa. Yeah, poor Melissa. Read the book, Melissa. No, just kidding. She would love the book because it actually will detail everything, Melissa, in that book. But I suggest don't get the Amazon copy. But everybody who gets the Amazon copy, yes, please do. It began for me in the beginning, and and I describe everything in the 50 extra pages that I have in the book. Here it is right here. Here's the book with the 50 extra pages.
Oops.
Right?
Let me unhide that. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Here's what's
that one has 182. This has 232 in it.
Where do we go to find this? Because when we go to your website and it says like learn more or whatever, it just takes us to the Amazon page.
Yeah, this book here, you'll have to contact me for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the only one who will give the extra 50 pages. Autographed, it's $50. It's my life in this book, so that's why it's $50. 50 pages for $50.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you get my autograph.
Whoops. Great.
Plus, you get it signed. Mine isn't signed. I have to wait until we cross paths.
Right. Absolutely.
Which, according to the book and the stories you tell, when you go on podcasts, you tend to cross paths with them somehow. So.
Yeah. So here's the difference too. I want everybody not to get all discombobulated. You buy that book on Amazon, you're paying I think $20 and shipping. The ones here is $50, but that includes shipping and you get my autograph. So there's not very much difference when you close the gap of. I think it cost me $12 to $15 to mail a book from here to America.
Yeah. See, I what happened was, a couple months ago, Robbie Thomas was on the show. That was a while ago. That was another podcast name ago and another co-host ago. By the end of the show, I was so impressed by the stories. And we literally, I screen shared the website. We picked everything apart, and we really got into a lot of stuff. And I was just so impressed. Right after the show, legit, I got off and I got on Amazon and I ordered the book. I didn't even know that there were other books. I didn't even care. I was like, I'm going to buy the book, and so. So that's what I did, and I'm not upset that I did it. I'm upset that I don't get the 50 pages though. I definitely pay the $50 for the signature and the extra stories. The extra stories. That's where it's at. I'm telling you, he's a good writer, guys. It's easy to read, and if you guys look, it's an easy read. It's not like some books, like the words are real small and you get a headache from reading. That didn't happen once to me. And I have some questions. I just noticed, man, I forgot. I had some questions about some of these stories for Jesse Foster.
Yes.
Did they ever find Jesse?
They found two of the girls that were missing with Jesse. Jesse's mom is a good friend of mine. She is the mother of the CEO of MATH, Mothers Against Trafficking Humans.
Mm-hmm.
And she helps people around the world in the human trafficking. I told exactly what happened, and she said to me with her on the phone that when law enforcement, and I gave exactly what happened with the man who did it, what he used, and she goes, the tools and everything. She goes, it's amazing because it wasn't made public. And I gave a specific area, and Las Vegas police. This isn't my words. I'm just reiterating and paraphrasing what's been told to me. They don't want to look. They don't look for people in the human trafficking.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told. So, unless it's a very clear cut, there she is. You know what I mean? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's not me saying that. I'm paraphrasing.
Right. That's got to be like that. That was one of the hard stories to read.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, being a father and being an empath and then being empathic and being an empath, and it's all just kind of it was tough.
Well, you see in the book too. The other two girls I did bring home from the sex grade, and then Jessie would have been the third. You know, and I think about that child all the time, and the mom. But Glendine, and she says in the book, she goes, I really do appreciate and love Robbie for what he told me, because he told me straight out that she's not alive and that she's where she is. And the other two girls that were with Jessie are not, they found them. They're not alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Another one real quick. This is the one where, I just put this, I think I put it just like in the middle of the story because this is the one, the basement one, chained in the basement, the bizarre turn events.
That was hard.
Oh my goodness. But whatever happened, the mom, she got arrested for being AWOL, but what about everything else that she did?
No, what happened was I did this Make-A-Wish Foundation event. I was the main speaker to raise money for children. I've done a lot of charities. So I'm not passing it up. I'm traveling. I'm going to do this. So I get down there and I'm speaking and I'm looking at this woman and she just seemed off to me, really weird. And her husband caught on to me, knowing about her and what I do. And she kind of evaded me, like stayed away. But he would confront me and everything. I come home, he calls me and says, I need you to come back down here. I have something to tell you. He tried to explain over the phone. I was a little bit taken back. I get down, I'm in a cafe, diner. I'm sitting across the table from this guy, and he's telling me exactly what I was kind of feeling from this woman, what they had going on of a poor young girl chained in the basement and used for sex to pay the rent. And you hear what I say in the book. I said I wanted to reach across the table and snap his neck. I wanted to kill the kid. I wanted to kill him for telling me this. And but I had to keep my cool because I had to get information. So then now I'm working on another case. Now this is really off the wall. People are going to flip out of this. I'm working another case out of Brampton where a young girl was found on the swing and she was wrapped around her neck and she was hanging. And all her information was strewn about in the park. She was a very petite little girl. There was no way she could have stepped up on the swing, held onto the one chain to pull herself up and wrap the chain around her neck to hang herself. It ain't happening with her shoes planted in front of her. It was staged. So I got down to who the boyfriend was and to look for materials that he's keeping of her in his house. Girl was hung 50, 75 yards from the police station in this park. So mom's irate. So I'm doing that case the same time I'm doing this benefit. And then I go back home, and then she says to me, Robbie, Mom, I have a friend whose daughter's missing, and we don't know where she is. And it's just starting to click in. She's describing this girl exactly what the guy was describing to me at this diner. And I'm saying, just a minute. I said, this is crazy. I said, I just left the guy who told me exact description you just gave me of another girl who's chained in the basement and a city apart, a totally different city. And she's going, oh my gosh, I got to tell Pamela. And I said, or Paula. And I said, all right. So they put me in touch with Paula. And this is the sticky point with families. The husband of Paula had bad rap, bad record, biker guy, bad. They didn't want to get involved with the police, but can I still get the child out? Right? And that type of thing. So we talked to the woman, the husband, and me, her. She lets her go. She goes back to the States, the one who had her here. She was here. She was in the United States Army and AWOL and went back to the States. Whatever she served there for being AWOL, she was there. No charges were brought against that woman because of the fact that Paula's family were dirty, but they got their child back. Paula gave me the permission to use all the information to put in the book, which is good because I keep all those emails too, right? Because it's records. But I'm not going to put that in the book because then it'll give away who it is. So I kept them anonymous, but we got the girl out, and it's a horrific story.
It really is. It really is. I mean, you saved that little girl. So, I mean,
God saved that little girl. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Holly Minor. Crap. I'm going to bawl when I read this book. It's good. And, you know, I would recommend, I mean, anyone who's at all curious about psychics, anyone who's into open cases, what I call cold cases, anything that's kind of like that. That, I mean, it's just, there's just so much in this.
Let's talk about the happy ending.
Yes.
Let's do a happy one. I'm sitting in my house. I've done several cases with this detective. You heard him in the beginning. He says they use me as a drug dog or something like that. The quote, whatever, right? All these quotes they give me, I just let them fly off the shoulder because, you know, that's what they say.
You're a drug dog.
Yeah, like, you know, whatever. I'm a drug dog. But he calls me up and he says, Robbie, we're missing this elderly lady and she's in danger. Can you help? And I said, okay, Andy, send me the case file. He's in Florida now. I'm in Canada. So he sends me the file. I never look at the specifics. I look at the photograph because that's where I get all my information from. So I'm looking at the photograph of the elderly lady, endangered lady. And we're going back and forth on the phone. And as I'm on the phone to Andy, telling him specifics, he's immediately radioing the guys out in the field. And he's sending them to places, but not letting me finish because the information's coming in. And these guys are traveling all over the place. And I said, well, there's water and there's big rocks, big rocks. And it's like a bridge. And he sent them to a creek. And I said, no, let's stop. I said, just wait. So I said, the Bay Area. And she took a bus. And in the book, you see his text messages to me, and then a Facebook post where he put out there. He goes, Robbie found the elderly lady, and what happened was we found her within an hour. And then it was like 9:30, I got the call. 10:30, we found her. And by 12:30 that afternoon, the sheriff and all the deputies and everybody had a press conference in Florida saying, we found, oh, darn it, I forget her name. We found the beautiful lady. She was missing. And she's home safe now. She was an entire city away. She was from St. Petersburg to Tampa Bay. And we found her like that.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And those are the times that you love what you do, right?
Yeah, those are the times. Absolutely.
The happy endings, yeah.
Happy endings. I love them. I mean, I was probably on a high for a week after that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, just the heart, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Karma Wild wants to know, do you ever just pick up vibes in a crowd? Like if a bad person randomly passes you in a crowd or something?
Yeah, and this goes back to my first case. I'm in a parking lot, and I'm speaking to a good friend of mine who is the manager of this complex. And about 30 yards, 50 yards away from me, there's a gentleman walking away into the foyer or the entrance of the building. And I'm speaking to Greg, and I'm looking over his shoulder. And Greg notices I'm not keeping eye contact with him. And he turns over his shoulder and goes, "Oh, that's Jesse. Do you want to go meet him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to meet Jesse." So we ended up in his apartment. But I picked up on Jesse because anybody who's bad to me, you have a black shroud. And that shroud, people talk about auras and things, and I could see things like that. And this guy had a black shroud. So whenever I see black around a person, they're bad. So I knew he was bad. And we ended up in his apartment, and that's when he confessed. And I'm not telling you much more. It's in the book.
And look out for volume 2 because, wow. So, wow.
Yeah,
that is so cool. So, now we talked a little bit about your shows. I'm sorry, I'm kind of ADD here. But we talked about your shows, but we didn't talk about something that's very important about these shows. How are we going to get to see them?
Oh, you mean visually?
Yeah, how are we going to get to watch it? Yeah.
Well, you can't remote view? Come on. So the one show, Halloween Obsessed, is in production. I'm wondering, see, I'm biting my tongue right now to tell everybody who else is in this, but I was told they might be getting him and he's wanting to do it as well. You've seen him on Tremors. You've seen him on Family Ties. You've seen him Law and Order. We're talking about Michael Gross. And so he'll be like offsetting me doing monster type things, and I'm doing the paranormal. And I'm telling you stories from around the world and in Canada and America of really haunted places, Ben. And then you get to see film footage and stuff. My segment's in the can. There's more segments coming. It's going to be about a year in the making, and then it's going to I can't tell you exactly the network because I'm not allowed. I'm not the director. I want to get my wrist slapped or,
yeah, or worse, right?
Or, yeah, broken. But she's an award-winning director. She's done many, many movies. A lot of you have seen them. And she's from LA. You can go on and Google her as Linda Palmer, director Linda Palmer. Go to her IMDb account and take a boo at all the movies. So that's coming. And that's going to be in a place where we all can see it. Awesome. America, Canada, and the world. The other one, when it gets done, it's an American show, so it's going to be in America. And I'm hoping Canada will get it because we get your channels. So I'm hoping my folks over here can see it.
Awesome. See, when I was on Paranormal Survivor, I had to air in Canada before I came to here in the States. So
wow.
So yeah, that's a Canadian production company.
Right.
So they're fun to work with. They came down here and they interviewed me and my client, and it was fun. And it was right before I went on vacation to Phoenix. Actually, my family down there. I went and visited them. So, and of course, I had to go to a haunted mining town when I was there. Can't not. So I'm just excited to see these shows. I'm going to check out more of your books. So you have all of these other books here. Let's see if I can get a list of them here. Here we go.
Yeah, we'll go through them if you want. I can tell you some pretty good stories about those.
Yes, let's see here. We are. Uh-oh. Why did it do that? Hold on. Stupid computer. Oh, that's why I did that. Okay. Yeah, so we're just going to go to your Amazon page, I guess.
Okay.
Because it lists them all. And that's what your Facebook takes. Your Facebook. Oh, my goodness. What your webpage takes us to. So that is. So there's a lot here for sure.
All right. Let me go through that. Parasylum is based. Okay. It's factually based paranormal twisted horror #1 in the series. It comes out of the book Paranormal Encounters, where Dead Whisper movies in there, Sallie House movies in there. Many various places I've been around America and Canada are in Paranormal Encounters. Paranormal Encounters, when it came out, in the first week sold 34,000 copies. It was #1. I went down to New York to do a benefit for a young girl who needed a double lung transplant. It was really big news in America. She was the youngest recipient, or to be a recipient, put on the adult list. I don't know if a lot of people remember that, but we went down there. There was a few other celebs went down, and we did this benefit for her. And I remember the guy telling me, come over to me, he goes, "That's my #1 bestseller in New York." And he goes, it's amazing that you're even here. And I thought, why not just throw out a book, but it was, all the stories came. So that's the mother birth of Parasylum 1, 2, and 3. And it's factually based on Al Capone Speakeasy. Mantino State Asylum is Parasylum 1. Parasylum #2 is Al Capone Speakeasy in Willowbrook. And #3 is based on the island in the Portugal, where the volcano I talked about. So again, I'm keeping everything alive and just spreading it out so everybody can have a good, spiel. When 1 and 2 came out, Parasylum 1 and 2, I get this phone call, and it's a guy from LA. He goes, "I want you to bring out #3. He goes, "I really love #1 and 2. So there's #3. And I said, okay. And I'm talking to him, and a lot of people will recognize, maybe not his name, but what he did. He's the casting director for Stephen King, and who did It, the original It. His name's Mark Tillman, and he's done RoboCop, MacGyver, hundreds of movies. And he called. We talked for a while, and so then I brought out #3. He's on my Facebook. He joined my Facebook. He always watches everything I post as well. So then I brought Signs from Heaven. It's endorsed by the Canadian government, and I don't think governments endorse psychics, but right in there, I was involved with the White House, the Vatican, the Portuguese government, the Canadian government, and the woman's willed me, her spirit willed me to save her life. And the story's called Noelia. And one of the members of Parliament in Canada read that in Parliament, and they endorsed it. And on the back, he says, "This is a truly inspiring book." And I got the letter, and I got it framed, and it tells all about, he thanked me for it and what have you. That is also another bestseller. Time Shift. Now this is really cool, because I told you about Mark Tillman. One day I'm sitting down and I'm writing a screenplay for a movie, blockbuster movie, and it's about end times of the world. And I'm talking about Canada, Russia, America, Australia, the world. And this stuff is flowing off my fingers. And I wrote that book in 2 days. I kid you not. And in the book, and you can go back in my Facebook page. I want you to do this, Shawn. Go back in when the tsunami hit Japan in 2011, I think it was. In the book, 5 days prior to the tsunami hitting, I predicted it a 9.0 off the coast of Japan, and it's on the Facebook page where I say we all have to accept what's coming, the black abyss, and what's all happening. And in the book itself, one of the producers, Don Hutchison from Liftoff Productions, was turning into a book. Actually, I'm sorry, a script turned into the book. He put a little note in there saying, I predicted all that, and it was all in there, but I wasn't predicting it. It was what I was seeing for a movie. I just kept writing. It just flowed. And then when the book, you see the world burning through the Mayan calendar there. I pressed Scotty Roberts. He's an award-winning author, Everybody knows him in the paranormal. Very astute individual. He wrote my foreword. Now, I pressed him to get it to me as soon as possible. And I don't know why. I just kept pressing him. And then finally he wrote it, put it in the book. I released the book. I think it was 2 or 3 days later. And the meaning of that, the world burning through the Mayan calendar in 2012, the world wasn't going to end like everybody predicted. We were going to live. And they found that other Mayan buck tomb right after that in a cave. And that's pretty symbolic. I mean, there's the prediction. It's on the cover. And then there's other things that Moko Picchu, I predicted they found, but it's in a storyline. Again, when I say predict, I'm writing it as a story. That they find this other cavern and they walk in and they find all the relics and stuff. And it's in there. And I said it's English, Spanish-speaking scientists. But what turned out in the news clip and all the links on my website correspond with everything that would happen that came true after the book came out. It was actually English-French scientists found it. I was off by a language, but the whole circumference of that book is there. When that meteor went across Russia and exploded in Russia, and I said, Igor Vladimir is going to be pointing the finger back at the States and say they used HAARP. In the book, year or two later, that happened. And didn't the opposition leader to Putin, Igor or Vladimir, point the finger back in the news and say, America used HAARP? And it's in the book long before it happened. All these things came to fruition. And you can read the critics, what they say about it. They're just baffled by it, how it all came out. When I say the world's on fire and the president is friends with Russian president in the end of the book and how he's trying to sway the world, and it's in the book. It's all there before. And that was released in 2010.
That's a far ways to scroll through Facebook.
I know to go back, but I'm talking about if you go to RobbieThomas.net, my website, there's a page dedicated to Time Shift the Paradigm, and you can see all the links to all the news that correspond with everything that came true in the book and all the critics, what they said.
Aha. There we go.
There you go.
Here. Dude. And
yeah, you pull that page up.
Yeah. And now we will. It only lets me screen share one, like have one thing up. Here we go. There. We're good? Yep. Okay.
There it is. May 2012.
Yep. Okay. So,
yeah, you can read that right there.
The book is living proof of what has happened, what is happening, and what possibly can happen. It's remarkable. That's from the International Police Chief Kevin Smith from the Kevin Smith Talk Show. Where's is this one of the predictions here?
You can keep scrolling. That's a little bit of introduction to the book. Scroll right there, the premonition right there.
Premonitions, visions come true after the book was published. The first event written about and corroborated, moments that led up to the first 9.0 tsunami in Japan in March in 2011 on Facebook headlines and in a posting. And this is the post. Phone conversation. Is this the post here that I'm highlighting?
Yep.
March 10th, 2011. Phone conversation between Don Hutchinson, producer, director of Liftoff Productions, and myself about writing writing in 9.0 earthquakes and tsunami. The movie script, March 10th, 2011, posting talks more about Peru, the chaos in the world, and more nations, etc. March 10th, 2011, the last posting of my night. My prediction for tomorrow, for everyone, tomorrow will bring much promise. It's how you accept what is given and what shape you wish. What shape the way you wish will make it come true.
And then the next day that hit.
And then it hit.
Wow.
I mean, people talk about like Nostradamus, right? And everybody knows Nostradamus. We were talking about Nostradamus when I was in high school back in 1990 something, and it's like this is it. I mean Nostradamus. I mean, in order to like get his predictions, you gotta like. It's like reading the scripture, you know. You gotta. I'm not saying that his word is the scripture. I'm saying you have to decipher it for it to be the prediction that people say it is. I mean, here it is in plain night and black and white. I mean, you're making these predictions,
And that's what he said. If you read that part there, go back up right there. Yeah, in early 2011.
Oh yeah,
that's what Don explained.
Oh. In early 2011, Robbie and I were discussing his movie scripts for his Psychic Nightmare trilogy. He mentioned to me he was writing a new script that had an end of times theme to it. It was a worldwide apocalypse with a catastrophic events in Peru, United States, and Japan. On March 10th, 2011, a telephone conversation, Robbie described for me the turbulent end of the world events contained in the writings, which include a giant tsunami caused by a 9.0 earthquake. I thought nothing of it until Robbie and I talked 2 days later after the event in Japan. Imagine my surprise when the 8.9 earthquake that caused the tsunami that hit Japan was reclassified as a 9.0 earthquake. It is either a remarkable coincidence or a premonition written by Robbie and discussed with me just a day before it actually happened. Remarkable. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, how do these like premonitions come to you? They just like come to you as like a feeling? Do they come to you like as like a vision? Do they come to you in a dream? How does this happen?
It was like I was sitting there, and it was very strong. It was being pulled. If I can explain, it was like I was being pulled, but being shown, and I just grabbed the laptop and I just started typing, and I was seeing things, and I was writing. This is a good book, and I just kept, script. Sorry, this is gonna be a great script, and I'm writing it in, and I'm going all around the world, and I'm taking you from small town America to Peru on a mountain to back into America, and there's chaos, and the sheriff's involved, and people are in a uproar, and back over to the West Coast and LA and all around the world. And I'm putting it all in the story, and things are happening. Russia, we're in Russia, and the meteor comes across and explodes in Russia. And I was off by, it happened in the Minsk, but I called it Danunsk or something in the book. I was off by one syllable by naming where it really happened in the book, and a year later it happened. It was crazy. It just kept coming, and I just wrote it, and I said, Don, we got a hit here. And then sure enough, the next day or whatever, the tsunami hit, and then things started to happen, and I bugged Scotty Roberts. He gave me the foreword right away, and I turned it into a book.
Wow, that's crazy. Here, it looks like I missed some comments here. First, kind of going back a little bit, Karma Wild says that she can look at people that are going to die, and I know it to me that they look washed out, like a black and white photo. So she could tell by looking at somebody if they're going to pass. Well, don't look at me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, don't look at him.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you 10 more minutes, fellas.
Okay, no, that's perfect. So Donna Abbott wants to know what is your book about 2020 going to be written? It should be wild.
Oh, I know, right? Oh my gosh.
I don't even want to know 2021. I don't.
Yeah, I know. might just be blank, just a bunch of blank pages you fill in, right?
John Jerome. Barua, boy. How are you? Great show. Thank you.
Robbie, we if we have 10 minutes, we have a quick section. It's because we changed our name from to like Our Paranormal. We got something that we kind of pay homage to the old name, and the segment of the show is called Into the Abyss, where we're going to ask you 13 questions, and you can try and answer them as brief as possible.
Okay.
And it's kind of one of those just like fast firing questions.
Lightning round.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Okay.
Number 1, what do you say to people that don't think there's an afterlife?
Keep your faith and keep searching, because that's how we keep our faith intact. If we don't ask questions, we never find out.
What would you tell someone who thinks they might have a psychic gift that wants to help people?
Keep pursuing your gift. I used to teach how to. I explained in the beginning of the show real quickly that I said, there's people who have intuition and there's people who have real ability. Don't push yourself. Let it happen naturally.
What's the quickest case you've ever been a part of?
Oh my gosh. Walking into the ICU, praying over a man where they were going to unplug him and kill him, and he was brain dead. And within 2 minutes, I told what was wrong, and they pulled the IV, and he's home like you and me, and he's eating steak, and he's alive. And it's in the book.
Wow. If you had to go help officials on a case in a country that you've never been to, what country would you like to go to?
I've been asked to go to India and the China Sea. I've been asked to go to, put a guy in jail in Australia. I've done it remote viewingly. I've been asked by Ireland. I've helped out in Ireland. I've helped out in England. Garda is one of the hardest police to work with because they don't believe in all psychics at all, but they let me in, and I helped out in Joanna, her case. If I was to go and travel and do cases, to me, it really wouldn't matter. Just getting there and doing it.
What's the most important quality of a bandana?
My head in it. Because I look damn sharp in the frickin' thing. And when I'm on my motorbike, I'm a mean bastard. So, that's it. That's the answer.
Number 6, what makes SpongeBob so special?
I'm sorry?
What makes SpongeBob so special?
SpongeBob is my sidekick, and my kids brought me up on him, and I just love him. I mean, with him and Gary and, Squidward, but Spongy, he follows me everywhere.
Do you think age affects how strong psychic powers are?
No, it don't, because, here, let me rephrase. This is going to be a little bit of a long answer. I was reincarnated, and when our reincarnates have a strong point of entry and exit. And when you die young, I was hit by a car when I was around 6. I told my mother this story, and I tell her I used to wave to my grandfather or my father, and I was hit by a car. When you're young and I came up to that pinnacle point, it was very strong. I used to cry for my father right up until I was about 15. And my father now would say, "What's wrong with him?" And I would explain that I had another life and another father. And then it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. So it's different adverse ways of integrating your ability. But being young, you see color. You don't see black and white. You're not jaded. So everything's open to you. And I kept that going through life. And here we are.
Okay. What was your favorite of your 10 books to write?
Oh, my goodness. It's not written yet. It's my memoirs.
Perfect. What's your most significant tattoo?
I'm about God and man, and I have God and man all over me. Our patriot saint, Saint Michael, New York police officer. And when I put that creep in jail for murdering that little boy, there's the devil, and that's him. And I got that done for Caesar and for the children. And that's what I did.
Yeah. If someone had to make a logo for your brand, what would it look like?
RT.
RT. Are there specific types of jewelry that helps people hone in on their psychic abilities?
No, not really. It comes from here. This is the jewelry right here. It comes from your soul, your heart. Keep it open. That's where it works.
When you work on sketches, what's your go-to pen or pen color?
I like working with pen quite a bit, black, because black and white to me on page, I focus more. I don't want to stray away from with colors or pencil.
And number 13, if people are struggling to cope with having their psychic abilities, what would you tell them to help them understand and get used to their powers?
Journal. Make sure you grab a journal, write down everything. Don't elaborate. Don't fictionate anything. Write down. And I teach this with the children. When they tell you a story, I'm seeing my imaginary friend. Let your children speak. Keep a journal. Write everything down, what they say, not what you think they're saying, what they say. Keep it going for the rest of their lives or wherever, how long. And then when they get older, they can turn to that and say, yeah, I remember that. And then they can explain to you exactly more in detail what they were seeing. Same thing for an adult. Take your vision that you have inside you, turn around, put it on the page. As you go along, little footnotes, refer back 6 months later and see your growth. See how you're coming. See the growth, see the change, see the line. It's almost like a graph. You'll see how you grow.
Well, there you go, Robbie.
Awesome.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. What a pleasure. Yeah, and honestly, if we probably cracked into those answers, we'd have another 4 hours on our hands.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was some good stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Robbie, it's always a pleasure. Whenever your show drops, whenever your next book, whenever definitely number 2 comes out, volume 2, we got to have you back on. I could think of any reason to have you on. It's a blast. There's just so much to talk about, and we could just keep on going for hours. So
yeah, no, thank you so much.
No, thank you. We definitely appreciate you. Definitely welcome back on anytime. Yes. So, yeah,
you want to make sure that you go to this link, contact, Robbie personally, so you can get the full book.
50.
Yeah.
The 50 extra pages, the signature, and everything. Because I'll tell you what, I saw he was posting that on Facebook. I was getting jealous.
What else can we do to plug away and help you get your message across? Because I mean, it's phenomenal what you've done. So
that's it. I'm pretty simple. I'm simplistic. I keep it that way because it's just the way you should be. RobbieThomas.net.
Perfect.
Yep.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bryan.
Hey,
Shawn.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Robbie. I got to plug a few things for our sponsor, the Hinsdale House. So just real quick, Data Class, he did just make a really big announcement yesterday. They have a big event this Friday. He called this like when you go to concerts and they have like a big concert, but then like they would used to like announce like a secret venue where you can go and like see them in a more intimate setting. That's kind of what this is. This is the night before. Nick Groff has a big event, and he's going to the Hinsdale House, and they are going to be doing an experiment, and you can be a part of that experiment and an investigation at the Hinsdale House. It is $150, and 100% of the proceeds goes to the Hinsdale House. Dan Kless, if you follow him on the Facebook or on the Twitter, he went live and he did explain all of this. So make sure that you look into the Hinsdale House and you do that, because the Hinsdale House, when you have a place that is used for research as that place is, it takes money, and he's got a family and everything, so it's definitely appreciated any help that they can get, which then also gets us to one last thing, and that is going to their Patreon page. Become a Patreon patron, and they have some really cool stuff that you can become a part of. You can do as much as $1 or what have you to become a patron. So make sure you do that. So thank you to the Hinsa House for being our awesome sponsor. It is an honor to have you guys, and we're glad that you will have, or we're honored that you will have us. Sorry. So that was a mouthful. I tried to say that quickly because I know that you guys, we all need to go to bed. It's late. It's Wednesday, and we need to finish our week. So with that, everybody, you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Everyone, please stay safe, stay healthy, and let's use some common sense as we are trying to push past this this horrible virus that's out there. So everybody, God bless. Thank you so much.
And keep journaling.
Keep journaling. 100%. Everybody, have a good night.
Thank you. This paranormal adventure that we're all on, it connects us. This is our paranormal community. This is Our Paranormal Podcast with your host, Shawn Gilmore.
He's worked in the paranormal field for 10 years.
He's a part of 2 paranormal teams.
His passion is creating para-unity.
With your host, Bryan Mersol.
He's worked in the paranormal field for 7 years.
He leads his own paranormal team.
He wants to help people start their paranormal adventure or grow their existing one. This is Our Paranormal Adventure. This is our paranormal community. This is Our Paranormal Podcast.
It's about supporting. It's about making para-unity a real thing, because we all need to support each other within our community, and that's what the show has always been about.